They thought they were dealing with someone soft, someone harmless, someone whose kindness meant weakness. They took your grace for granted, your silence for submission, and your loyalty for blind devotion. But what they never realized was that every time they tried to break you, they were building someone far stronger than they ever intended to face. They thought you would crumble when they pushed you, that your world would fall apart at the first sign of betrayal. Instead, the pressure forged you. Their disrespect sharpened your instincts. Their manipulation burned away your innocence. They didn't just push too far, they activated something inside you that they are now terrified of. You were never born a villain, life sculpted you into one. They created conditions that demanded survival, and survival demanded transformation. When every attack found its mark, when every betrayal cut deeper, something inside you changed. You stopped defending yourself and instead evolved. At first, you tried to reason with them. You tried to explain, forgive, and maintain peace. But wolves don't understand the language of angels. They mistook gentleness for surrender and empathy for weakness. And that mistake cost them everything. They kept testing you because they thought you had no breaking point. They didn't realize that soft hearts have limits, and once that limit is reached, the heart doesn't shatter, it turns cold. And nothing is more frightening than someone who once cared losing the desire to care at all. They created the villain they now fear by refusing to appreciate the hero they once had. Every lie became a lesson. Every manipulation became fuel. Every betrayal became a brick in the foundation of someone who no longer flinched at pain. You stopped responding to their drama, and that silence was more terrifying than any argument could ever have been. They realized that the storm they thought they controlled was now out of their reach. The tables had turned, and without warning, they were no longer the ones in power. They used to be able to hurt you. They used to know which buttons to press. But when you healed, you rewired yourself. The old triggers no longer worked. The old weapons no longer cut. They showed up prepared for the old version of you and found a new force entirely. They tried to destroy you emotionally, forgetting that some souls rise higher the more they are torn down. Now they look at you and don't recognize what stands before them. You are sharper, wiser, and colder, not because you wanted to be, but because they left you no other choice. There is a special kind of fear that grips people when they realize the damage they've done is now irreversible. They are not scared of what you might do, they are scared of what they created. They played games with a peaceful soul and woke up a warrior. They wanted to see how far they could push you, and now they're terrified of how far you've pulled away. Once, you were reachable, soft, forgiving. Now you are distant, calculated, unreachable. And your distance is their punishment. They expected you to beg for understanding, to chase after closure, to cling to the version of the relationship they took for granted. Instead, you gave them the one thing they could never fight: indifference. Nothing is more chilling than someone who has been pushed so far that they no longer react. Someone who has seen enough to no longer be impressed or intimidated. You became that figure, emotionless, focused on your path without looking back. They never expected that their mistreatment would become your origin story. You were supposed to be the casualty of their selfishness, but instead, you became the climax of your own evolution. Now, they are a side note in the growth that was forced upon you. They're afraid not because you became darker, but because you became smarter. You learned to see through people, to read intentions, to detect masks. And their tricks that once worked now appear pathetic in comparison to the vision you developed. You used to fear losing them. Now they fear losing relevance in your life. You care so little that it burns them. They never imagined they would become background noise in the life of someone who used to make them the center of their world. Your transformation is a reminder of the consequences they never calculated. They played the villain and expected you to remain the victim. Instead, you embraced the strength that pain forced upon you, and now they can't find the courage to face the new reality. They tell others you changed, that you became cold, that your heart turned dark, but they never tell the part about who drove you there. They never mention how many times they lied, betrayed, or humiliated you before the light in your eyes went out. What scares them most is that you're not angry. Anger would have meant attachment. Rage would have meant you still cared. But the absence of emotion, your ability to discuss them with a straight face, is what sends shivers down their spine. They never expected you to outgrow the battlefield. They assumed the war would keep you trapped, wounded, and reactive. But instead, you walked off the field entirely, healed, and built a new kingdom where they are not even allowed to visit. You became powerful not through vengeance, but through evolution, and evolution is undefeatable. They cannot hurt the version of you that no longer needs their validation, attention, or presence. That realization is their biggest loss. They now see that you didn't lose the compassion you once had, you redirected it to yourself. And when someone finally learns to love themselves more than the people who hurt them, the dynamic changes permanently. They thought they could return whenever they wanted. They assumed the old access remained. But now the gates are locked, and the key melted in the fire they started. That loss terrifies them more than any punishment ever could. They now understand the truth. They didn't just break the angel, they forced the angel to trade wings for armor. And once armor is forged, the world can't go back to how it was. They gave birth to a villain, then realized too late that they were the creators of their own fear. They lie awake at night replaying their choices, realizing that every moment they thought they were winning, they were actually losing you. They didn't know that every time they mocked your kindness, every time they dismissed your feelings, they were carving away the last pieces of the version of you that still cared. Now they face the aftermath, a stronger, colder, more self-aware version of you who refuses to suffer for people who wouldn't even apologize. They once took pride in being able to hurt you. It gave them a sense of control, a thrill, a feeling of superiority. But now they're terrified because you aren't just unbothered, you're unstoppable. They don't know how to fight someone who doesn't need their approval, their explanation, or their presence. Their old tactics are useless because you see through them like glass. They tell themselves that you changed, that you became heartless. But the truth is simpler and far more painful. You matured past them. The version of you that tolerated manipulation is gone. They didn't expect you to evolve into someone they could no longer access, influence, or emotionally destabilize. They played the game expecting you to break, and instead, you mastered it in silence. They didn't understand that the moment you started thinking logically instead of emotionally, the war was already decided. They were still fighting with ego and insecurity while you were making moves with clarity and intelligence. That shift is what terrifies them most. They can no longer predict you. They don't know what you're thinking, what you feel, what you plan, and nothing scares a manipulator more than losing visibility. They used to underestimate you, thinking their games would always work. But evolution is the consequence of prolonged exposure to pain. You became wiser, more strategic, more detached. They kept repeating their old patterns without realizing you'd outgrown that version of the battlefield. And by the time they noticed, you were already miles ahead. People like them don't fear losing, they fear being forgotten. When you stopped reacting, when you stopped caring, when you stopped explaining yourself, it became obvious that they were no longer relevant in your story. Being removed from your life wasn't the punishment, they just can't handle that the world didn't end without them. Your silence became their defeat. What they didn't calculate was that you were always a fast learner. While they kept stabbing from the same angles, you learned how to stop bleeding. You learned how to shield yourself. You learned how to look someone in the face and feel nothing where once you felt everything. That emotional numbness, that self-preservation, is something they never expected to face. They used to be able to trigger you. One comment, one argument, one manipulative tactic could send you spiraling. But after everything they put you through, you broke the cycle. You became immune. And their biggest weapon, their ability to get a reaction, stopped working. That power loss is what truly scares them, because what is a puppeteer when the strings are cut? They watch you closely, expecting tears, rage, or public collapse, but nothing comes. Your silence is louder than any emotional breakdown they prepared for. They thought their disloyalty would send you spiraling, but instead you remained calm, composed, almost bored, as if you saw it coming long before the curtain dropped. And that is what confuses them most. How could you be betrayed and yet not be surprised? They can't understand that some people learn to read patterns the way others read books. You had seen the shift in tone, in behavior, in body language. The replies got shorter, the eye contact weaker, the effort thinner. Betrayal is rarely sudden, it's a buildup, a series of small kills that happen long before the final blow. While they were plotting their exit, you were already preparing your emotional distance. They expected you to fall apart because that is what they would have done. They move through life reacting, not understanding. They assume everyone needs someone to survive, because they do. But emotional independence is a language they never learned. And when they saw you speak it fluently, they had no translation for it. They wanted the scene chaos, accusations, yelling, questions, closure. They imagined themselves holding the upper hand, feeling powerful as you begged for an explanation. Instead, you walked away with quiet dignity, leaving them to drown in the noise of their own decision. They lost not only your presence, but the drama they hoped to feed on. They can't accept that your heart wasn't caught off guard because your intuition had already warned you. You didn't just see the betrayal, you watched it forming, piece by piece, like a slow storm rolling in from the distance. And once you feel the rain coming, getting wet doesn't surprise you. You had already detached long before they thought you noticed anything. While they were strategizing, feeding their ego, and entertaining lies, you were transitioning into acceptance. By the time they committed the betrayal, you were emotionally elsewhere. Betrayal only hurts when the bond is still alive. You had already buried it. They can't understand that betrayal doesn't always hit hardest. When it happens, it hits hardest when it's done by someone whose loyalty you still believed in. But your belief disappeared long before their actions did. You didn't lose a friend or lover when they betrayed you. You lost them the moment they stopped choosing you consistently. They thought they were smart, subtle, manipulative. They thought you were blind. They underestimated how deeply you observe, how quietly you analyze, how quickly you internalize. Some people speak loudly, others think loudly. And those who think loudly are harder to deceive. They keep asking themselves a question they don't dare speak aloud. Did you know the entire time? The painful truth is, yes, you did. You simply decided not to confront or correct. You were studying how much they were willing to throw away. And they threw away everything. They expected emotional devastation, but what they got was emotional intelligence. They can't understand that maturity teaches a simple truth. Not every battle deserves a reaction. Sometimes silence is the punishment. Sometimes indifference is the weapon. Sometimes letting someone lose you is the only answer that needs to be given. They don't realize you weren't shocked because you hold yourself accountable for choosing them in the first place. When you stop blaming people and start learning from decisions, betrayal becomes a lesson, not a tragedy. And that mindset is foreign to them. They always thought winning meant hurting you. They never understood that real winning is being unbothered. If you can watch someone betray you and still protect your peace, you've already won a war they didn't even know they were fighting. They can't grasp how someone can take a betrayal without revenge. They don't understand that revenge is exhausting, and peace is priceless. You didn't want to return the pain, you wanted to return to yourself. And that's something they cannot comprehend. In their mind, betrayal is an explosion. In yours, it is simply information. Once someone betrays you, you update your understanding of them. You don't collapse, you adjust. You don't break, you evolve. They never expected someone who could convert betrayal into clarity instead of trauma. They can't understand that the lack of reaction was the real reaction. It told them everything. They no longer had access. They no longer had influence. They no longer mattered. That is a deeper punishment than anger could ever deliver. They keep replaying everything, trying to locate where they lost control. They don't realize control was an illusion. You had already handed their emotional power back to yourself long before they made their move. You were prepared. They were not. They are confused because they believed their betrayal defined the story. But the truth is, it only defined them, not you. You continued growing, glowing, and moving forward. They remained stuck in the shallow moment where they tried to hurt you. They can't understand that when someone has been betrayed enough in life, they stop being shocked by people. They are only shocked by loyalty. That's the world experience builds. A world where trust is earned, not assumed. They were never ready for someone with emotional history. They thought you were naive. They thought you were easy. They thought you were dependent. But you turned out to be observant, resilient, and independent. That realization bruised their ego far more than losing your presence bruised your heart. Your lack of shock makes them feel small. They needed to believe they had the power to shake your foundation. When they didn't, they saw their true impact insignificant. Nothing hurts the ego more than discovering it never mattered the way it believed it did. They can't stop wondering, why wasn't it enough to destroy you? Because they never built you. If someone didn't contribute to your growth, how can they be the reason for your downfall? You constructed yourself piece by piece, bruise by bruise, lesson by lesson. Their betrayal was just another chapter, not the ending. They now understand something painful. You weren't shocked because you never assumed loyalty from someone who hadn't proven consistency. You didn't romanticize potential, you evaluated reality. And reality had been speaking the truth for a long time. They can't wrap their head around the fact that you chose distance instead of confrontation. They expected you to fight for the connection, to prove your worth, to make them feel important. But instead, you respected yourself enough to walk away. That is maturity weaponized. They believed betrayal would break you. Instead, it refined you. You became calmer, wiser, more selective. You didn't lose hope in love or people, you just became smarter about where you invest your heart. They created a stronger version of you without earning the right to experience it. They still try to decode how you could remain so composed. They don't understand that true power is internal. When you no longer need someone, they can no longer hurt you. That's the lesson they never learned. And in the end, the truth remains simple. You weren't shocked, because betrayal didn't change anything. It only confirmed everything you already knew. They thought they delivered destruction, but all they delivered was proof. They also struggle with the idea that you didn't try to seek closure. They waited for the message, the confrontation, the emotional outburst, but it never came. Because you realize something they never did. Closure is not something you ask another person for, it's something you give yourself. They can't comprehend how someone can walk away without unfinished business, without wanting answers, without needing to unpack the pain. But you did, because you understood that chasing explanations from someone who chose betrayal only extends the wound. You chose to heal, not to question. They are confused because you never tried to expose them. They thought you would run around telling your side of the story, screaming the truth, trying to clear your name. But you've grown past the need to prove yourself. You let people believe whatever they wanted, because real peace comes from not needing to control anyone's perception. They lied to protect their image, while you stayed silent to protect your peace, and that difference is exactly why you won. They never expected you to be capable of emotional endings without emotional explosions. Society taught people that closure looks dramatic, slamming doors, shouting matches, ugly final scenes. But you mastered the quiet exit. You didn't destroy bridges, you simply stopped crossing them. They didn't realize that silence can be the most permanent goodbye. They also never understood how someone could still remain respectful after being wronged. You didn't publicly humiliate them, drag their name, or seek revenge, you just walked away. Only people with self-control can do that. And it burns them deeply because it shows who truly had the power. If you were capable of destruction but chose peace, then peace was the stronger move. They thought you would come crawling back once the shock hit you, but no shock ever did. Instead, you reclaimed your focus, your energy, your self-respect, and redirected it into your own life. They expected your world to crumble. Instead, you rebuilt it better without them. Nothing is more painful to someone who betrayed you than seeing you thrive untouched. They never imagined you would become someone they couldn't read, couldn't control, couldn't predict. The new version of you is their biggest nightmare because it exposes their biggest insecurity. They never had any real power over you, only the power you allowed them to think they had. Now that illusion is shattered, and they have no idea how to deal with the version of you that doesn't flinch, doesn't react, and doesn't need their validation. That alone is driving them insane. Your silence is the loudest voice in their life now. Every day they wake up thinking, how did they heal without me? How did they move on when I expected them to crumble? They never prepared for a world where you didn't need them. Your new version shows them just how small they were in the bigger picture, and that truth is eating them alive. They scroll through your life from a distance, trying to decode how the person they tried to break became someone stronger, calmer, and more dangerous. They thought your upgrade was temporary, a phase, maybe even a front. But the more time passes, the more they see this is permanent. You aren't pretending you've genuinely leveled up, and they can't handle the fact that you did it alone. Your emotional independence is a weapon. It slices through their ego without you needing to say a single word. They once believed they were the center of your universe. Now they see they weren't even a galaxy. They watch you shine without them and feel something even worse than jealousy: irrelevance. And that burns deeper than any insult ever could. Their mind replays every memory of when they had access to you, and it stings because they finally see what they lost. You were loyal. You were genuine. You were the kind of person people pray for. And now someone else will get what they threw away. The realization of that is the ghost that haunts them every single night. They try to convince themselves you changed, but deep down they know the truth. You simply stop tolerating disrespect. Your new version is not cruel, it's just done. And nothing terrifies a manipulative soul more than a heart they can't influence anymore. They keep checking your emotional temperature, but you've gone cold. Ice cold, and it's killing them. The fact that you don't react to their games anymore shocks them. Their mind is used to seeing you care, seeing you explain, seeing you fight to be understood. Now you don't fight for anything, not because you've given up, but because you realized you never should have needed to fight in the first place. That realization is what flips their world upside down. Your upgrade feels personal to them, even though it has nothing to do with them. They see your glow up as a weapon, your happiness as a threat, your peace as an attack. And that's how you know they were never on your side. Anyone who takes your growth personally was always silently rooting for your downfall. They ask themselves every day, how did they detach? Because they believed that once someone loved, they'd always stay loyal even in pain. They didn't understand that loyalty dies the moment self-respect is buried. They never expected you to resurrect your dignity, but you did. And now they're the ones choking on the dust of their own assumptions. Your new standards drive them crazy. They realize they can't approach you the way they used to. They used to walk into your life like they owned a key. Now they face a titanium door with no lock. The access they used to misuse is gone forever, and they know they don't have what it takes to earn it back. Your calmness is psychological warfare. They scream in their head, wondering how you moved on without losing your humanity. While they still search for the version of you that cried in silence, you outgrew the phase where tears served any purpose. The old you broke, the new you rebuilds, and that contrast torments them. Even your success hits them like a bullet. They expected you to struggle, to fall apart, to drown without them. Instead, you became someone people admire, someone others support, someone whose presence is respected. That wasn't part of their script. But life has a funny way of rewriting itself once the villain finds their wings. They see the confidence in your eyes now, and it exposes how insecure they truly are. They can't understand how someone they tried to break became someone impossible to shake. They underestimated your mind, your resilience, your ability to turn pressure into diamonds, and now they live in fear of what else you're capable of. The beauty is this: you didn't become the villain they pushed you into your evolution. All they did was teach you how to choose yourself. And now that you do, they feel abandoned by a person they never protected. That's the karma of emotional neglect. One day the person who cared simply stops. You became their unsolved puzzle. They can't figure out why they lost control, why their words no longer sting, why their existence doesn't matter to you anymore. They keep searching for the blueprint to the new you, but the blueprints burned the day you realized your value wasn't up for negotiation. Your new version isn't revenge, it's a consequence. A natural outcome of a soul that got tired of bleeding for the undeserving. And the irony? They created this version of you while trying to prevent you from ever reaching it. They played the game, and you became the master. You learned the rules they assumed you were too emotional to understand. And now, every day, your silence, your distance, your glow, your healing messes with their mind. Because you didn't just move on. You leveled up. You evolved. You left the old version of yourself behind like a grave. And they're still mourning the person they destroyed. They stare at the new you like a stranger, because they never took the time to understand you when they had the chance. Their ego assumed they had you figured out forever, that you would always react the same, forgive the same, and hurt the same. But evolution is the price of betrayal, and now they're stuck watching someone unrecognizable, strong, calm, detached, and no longer emotionally enslaved to their behavior. That's the version that haunts them. They see your smile and wonder who taught you how to laugh without them. They see your movement and ask themselves, who gave you the strength to walk away so cleanly? They never realized you always had wings, you just stopped letting them clip them. Now that you're airborne, they finally understand how small the world is from the ground. They miss the version of you who explained everything, who cared too deeply, who fought to make things right. They don't miss you, they miss control. And that difference is the very reason they lost you. When someone loves your dependency more than your happiness, you're not in a relationship, you're being emotionally contained. You broke out, and now they don't know how to live without that power. Your glow has become a mirror they can't handle. Every new achievement you unlock forces them to confront their own stagnation. Every time your name is praised, their failures echo louder. And the painful truth is, you didn't win at their expense, they just never grew. Watching you climb only reminds them they stayed exactly where you left them. They never thought you would stop seeking closure, but you healed without answers. You forgave without apologies. You outgrew without conversations. That is psychological domination, winning without engaging. Their mind replays every scene, searching for what they could have done differently, but the movie already ended and the credits have rolled. They're scared because they don't know what version of you the world will meet next. If you could transform this much from pain, what will peace create? What will success create? What will power create? They can barely handle the version of you built from heartbreak. Imagine how terrified they'll be of the version built from abundance. They call you cold now, but the truth is simpler. You stopped melting for people who never brought fire. That's not cruelty, that's self-respect. And being finally forced to respect you instead of manipulate you is what shakes them the most. Your new boundaries are walls they no longer have the keys to. Their punishment is ongoing, because they now understand something brutal. Your absence hurts more than your presence ever did. When they had you, they didn't value the light you brought. Now in the dark, they finally realize how rare that light was. You didn't just leave their life, you removed the warmth that made it worth something. They replay their mistakes because they expected a second chance. They thought time would heal in their favor. Instead, time became your weapon. Time turned pain into clarity, and clarity turned you into someone immune to their influence. The scariest enemy is the one who realizes they never needed you, and that's who you became. Your new version is a revelation. You never needed revenge. Growth was the revenge. Peace was the revenge. Silence was the revenge. Watching you evolve while they remain unchanged is the slowest and most excruciating punishment, one they administer to themselves every single day. They tried to break you, but they accidentally broke the part of you that tolerated disrespect. Now you move with precision, with wisdom, with emotional discipline. You don't argue, you don't chase, you don't explain. You outgrow, and that to them is unforgivable. People who depend on your weakness always hate your strength. In the end, they can't stop thinking about the one truth that never changes. If they had treated you right, This version of you would have belonged to them. They had the chance. They had the access. They had the privilege. They lost it. And now they must watch someone else experience the upgraded soul they once took for granted. And that is the real conclusion. They still can't understand how their story flipped so suddenly. One moment they were the center of your attention, the main character in your world, the star of every scene, and then, almost overnight, the camera shifted, the lighting dimmed, and their role shrank to something forgettable. They were spoiled by the version of you who poured effort, attention, reassurance, and loyalty into them. They got addicted to being prioritized, to being the one who mattered most. They never believed there could be a world where you simply stopped caring until it arrived. They didn't realize that being treated special was never a guarantee. It was a choice. And when someone takes your kindness and mistakes it for weakness, the choice is revoked elegantly, silently, and without warning. They thought your affection was permanent. They thought being chosen today meant being chosen forever. And that assumption was their downfall, because they never understood that love is not a contract, it is a privilege. They never saw the shift coming. One day, you were all in, giving the kind of warmth most people never receive. Then suddenly you were detached, indifferent, unbothered. And their confusion wasn't because you changed, it was because they forced the change. They told themselves you would chase, cling, and panic if they pulled away or showed disrespect. They thought they could play games with someone who genuinely cared. But they forgot that the sweetest souls have limits, and when they reach those limits, the switch flips. They thought they had time to return your energy, time to treat you right later, time to fix what they were breaking. But the time ran out while they were busy taking you for granted. At first, you gave them everything. Your presence, your loyalty, your softness, your patience. You made them feel chosen in a way no one else ever had. And they believed that treatment was guaranteed, because they were too blinded by entitlement. You didn't demote them, they demoted themselves with their behavior. You didn't turn cold, they turned you cold. You didn't fall out of love, they pushed you out with their own hands. And when you finally treated them like a side character, they couldn't stand it. But they never considered that they made themselves irrelevant by acting as if losing you was impossible. What really stings them is not that you changed, but that the new version of you flourished without needing them. You didn't beg, you didn't plead, you didn't negotiate, you simply rewrote the script and recast the lead. They now understand a painful truth. You treated them special because they were special to you, not because you had to. They didn't value that when they had it, and now they miss something they can never get back. They're shocked that someone who once made them feel so important can walk past them like a stranger. But that's how life works. When respect disappears, so does priority. They thought they could break your heart and still keep their place in your life. They didn't realize you don't hold seats for people who walk out in the middle of the movie. They can't accept that the same person who once made room for them in every decision now moves through the world without consulting them at all. That shift in power is what truly terrifies them. Your silence and distance were not punishment, they were evolution. You upgraded, and they were still running the outdated version of the story where they were relevant. They believed you would always return, always forgive, always show up, even after they gave you every reason not to. And now that you haven't, their ego is choking on the reality. They replay the past because the present is unbearable. In the past they were adored. In the present they are just another face in the crowd, and their pride can't handle the downgrade. They laugh and joke on the outside, pretending they don't care. But deep down they know you never lost them, they lost you. And losing someone who genuinely loved you is a loss you feel forever. They thought they were irreplaceable until they saw just how easily you adapted without them. Your glow never dimmed, and that alone shattered whatever superiority they believed they had. They didn't realize you weren't just giving love, you were also studying them. And when the study was complete, you closed the book and walked away with the lesson. Now they finally see why they were treated like the main character at first. because you were giving them a chance to rise. They had the spotlight, the script, the opportunity, but they threw it away. When you demoted them to a side character, you didn't do it out of revenge. You did it because the story was moving forward, and they stopped growing. You outgrew the scene and they got left behind in the last chapter. Now they watch your life like an audience member, realizing the plot never needed them to continue. And that is the twist that hurts the most. They didn't lose importance because you changed. They lost importance because they didn't. And in the end, the credits rolled without their name at the top, not because you erased them, but because they never earned their place in the final cut. They never imagined that someone who once made them feel like the center of the universe could learn to live as if they never existed. That transformation haunts them. It proves you were not dependent, you were simply giving, and the moment you stopped giving, the entire relationship collapsed because they brought nothing to hold it together. They thought they were irreplaceable because they mistook your loyalty for helplessness. They mistook your patience for fear of losing them. But the truth surfaced the moment you walked away. Your loyalty was a choice, not a weakness, and once withdrawn, their value was exposed for what it was, temporary and overestimated. They now realize the danger of taking a good person for granted. Good people don't always stay good after they're hurt. Some walk away quietly. Some build walls. Some sharpen themselves into something new. You became the version they created through their own neglect. It eats them alive that you didn't need a dramatic exit. No shouting, no threats, no confrontation, just a smooth disappearance that spoke louder than any breakup speech could have. The quietness of your departure screamed, "I outgrew this." They scroll past your success, pretending it doesn't bother them, but every achievement, every glow-up, every moment of your growth reminds them of how monumental the loss was. They don't envy your life, they envy the version of themselves they could have become if they had treated you right. People always assume strength is loud, but your strength was silent. Silent when they tested your patience. Silent when they disrespected you. Silent when they offered less than they received. By the time they realized silence meant you were done, the bridge was already ash. They thought they understood you, but they never noticed how observant you were. You saw the patterns, the manipulation, the entitlement. You just waited to be sure. Once the picture was clear, you unplugged your emotions, and they never saw the switch flip. They believed the story could not continue without them. But the most painful revelation was watching your life not just continue but upgrade. Your peace stabilized, your priorities recalibrated, and the world didn't collapse when they left. Their ego did. It shocks them that the same person who once made them feel adored and significant now doesn't even flinch at their absence. That kind of emotional control is terrifying to someone who expected to forever hold emotional power over you. They didn't realize you weren't cold, you were healed. And healing doesn't come with explanations. When you detach with peace, it shakes people who expected revenge, confrontation, or emotional begging. Peace shows who was really dependent. They once bragged about being the most important person in your life. Now they avoid mentioning your name because it reminds them they're not even part of the cast anymore. From lead role to uncredited background extra, that's a fall no ego forgets. They replay the past not because they miss you, but because they miss who they were when you loved them. You made them the best version of themselves, and they destroyed that gift with their arrogance. Now they are left with a downgraded self that only shines in memory. The hardest thing for them to accept is that you didn't seek replacement, you improved your inner world instead. They thought you'd jump into another arms for validation, but you chose self-evolution. And nothing threatens insecure souls like someone who grows alone. You treating them like a side character was not cruelty, it was justice. You simply placed them in the role they earned with their actions. When someone doesn't show up for the story moves on without them. It's that simple. They wanted to be missed, but they ended up being forgotten. And nothing is more brutal than realizing someone has healed so completely that the memory of you no longer triggers emotion, not pain, not anger, not even nostalgia.
Ain't it funny? You were joking, laughing, sarcastic, casual, just playing around, right? Until the universe started listening, until the timelines started bending, until every little "what if" you said started unfolding like you'd seen it before. And now, they're terrified. Not because you're loud, not because you're angry, but because everything you said in jest started coming true. And suddenly, the punchlines got fangs. They don't laugh anymore. They watch. Closely. Like you're wired into something they can't access. Like you tapped into the cheat code while they were still giggling at the loading screen. You were the clown, remember? The weirdo, the overthinker. The one always saying wild shit with a crooked smile and eyes that never blinked. They rolled their eyes while you grinned and said things like, "Watch, one day this whole place gonna burn." Or, "Y'all gonna regret sleeping on this chaos." But you weren't joking, were you? You were foreshadowing. And now the smoke's real, the fallout's personal, and your name's ringing like a prophecy they tried to laugh through. Because you weren't making jokes. You were masking visions, disguising divine rage as humor so they wouldn't lock you up or label you unstable. Because they can't handle the truth raw. So you served it with a grin. But now the grin's gone, and all that's left is the accuracy. See, people get comfortable when they can dismiss you. Call it sarcasm, call it dark humor, call it trauma responses. Because as long as they can file you under entertaining, they don't have to face what you really are. A mirror, a warning, a god in glitch format. You cracked jokes, but the timing was too perfect, the delivery too sharp, the fallout too real. And now they're reading your old tweets like leaked intel, scrubbing through your old stories like case files, zooming in on your eyes in those videos like there's codes hidden in your pupils. You don't scare them because you're violent. You scare them because you're right. And you were right too early. Before they had time to prepare, before they built their defenses, before they could rebrand the truth as their own idea. You said it with a smirk, and now they're stuck living in the world you foreshadowed while sipping coffee like it was just another Tuesday, because you knew. And they hate that. They hate that you knew and didn't warn them with fear. You warned them with laughter. You told them the flood was coming while skipping stones across the surface. You smiled when you said, "It's all gonna collapse eventually." And now that it is, they're checking in like you're the weatherman of the apocalypse. And the paradox, you're still smiling. But this time, it's different. There's no joke behind it now. There's just memory. You're remembering every side eye, every scoff. Every time they said, "Chill, you think too deep." Every time they laughed at what you knew was already real. And now they're silent, terrified. Because you don't have to say, "I told you so." Your silence is the echo of the warning they ignored. And it's louder than any scream. You didn't write the script. You just saw the ending first. You're not prophetic because you're magical. You're prophetic because you paid attention. You watched patterns repeat while they were watching memes. You saw betrayal before it walked in the room. You saw collapse in the way they smiled through the lies. You saw the fire behind their fake light. And now the building's burning, and you're outside, laughing, because they thought you were joking when you said, "I'm gonna disappear and come back different." And now that you did, they wish you hadn't come back at all. Because this version of you, it doesn't seek validation. It doesn't care if they understand. It doesn't explain, apologize, or soften its delivery. This version of you speaks less and gets studied more. You're the conspiracy now, the one who saw the glitch and laughed through it, the one who survived the betrayal and came back with eyes like surveillance cameras. You know too much. You feel too deeply. You're too correct. And that makes you dangerous in a world where lies are currency. You're unpredictable because you hide truth in madness. You're divine because you speak apocalypse with a grin. You're threatening because you stopped asking people to take you seriously. And reality started doing it instead. So let them panic. Let them read every post with trembling fingers. Let them whisper like you're a storm that might hear them. Let them replay your jokes like prophecies wrapped in riddles. Because every time something else unfolds that you predicted, they'll feel it in their chest. That regret, that realization, that maybe we should have listened. But by then, you're already gone, not in distance, in frequency. You're broadcasting on a level they don't have the password for. You don't need revenge. You've got receipts in real time. You've got timelines aligning like they owe you loyalty. You've got your old jokes playing out like warnings from a higher dimension. And the scariest part? You're just getting started. You want it to hurt deeper, slice cleaner, and echo longer. Good, because they're not ready for what's coming next. And neither are you. But you'll feel it first. Let's keep going. Because here's the real terror they don't speak about in daylight. It's not that your jokes became reality. It's that you didn't flinch when they did. You didn't panic. You didn't act surprised. You didn't post, "I told y'all." You just sat there, still, silent, certain, like someone who had already watched the movie and memorized the ending. And that's when it hit them. You weren't guessing. You were remembering. You weren't joking. You were leaking information from the future. They thought you were being edgy, but you were being exact. Too exact. Too on time. Too synced with moments that shouldn't have lined up unless you were never like them. Unless something broke inside you long ago and got replaced with pattern recognition and prophecy. You were never talking to them. You were talking to what would become of them. That's why they didn't get it. You weren't speaking to their ears. You were speaking to the consequences they hadn't earned yet. And now, they've caught up. They're living in the fallout of the things you said as jokes, but now feel like curses wrapped in comedy. They feel it in the way the room changes when your name gets mentioned, in the way certain people stop laughing mid-sentence because your words aged like time bombs, in the way your silence now feels like a pending broadcast from somewhere above logic and below mercy. Because that's the thing about prophecy. It doesn't come wrapped in robes and halos. It walks in broken. It speaks in sarcasm. It laughs so it doesn't weep. And when no one listens, it evolves. You evolved. From warning to punishment, from lesson to law. You're no longer predicting, you are enforcing. They used to ask, "Why are you always so dark?" Now they ask, "How did you know?" But they don't deserve the answer, because they mocked the message when it still came with mercy. Now they study you in silence. They analyze your mood like it's the stock market. They whisper about your expressions like they're looking for cracks in the code. But they can't read you anymore. You're not even running on the same firmware, because the moment you stopped joking, the system lost track of you. And now the algorithm glitches when it tries to categorize you. You're not a content creator. You're not a preacher. You're not a rebel. You're a phenomenon, an unlicensed frequency that shouldn't exist in a world this programmed. You're the unexplained footage they try to delete, but somehow it keeps uploading, keeps getting views, keeps triggering something ancient in the minds of people who swore they were awake. Because people don't realize until it's too late that some jokes were never jokes at all. They were rituals, they were summonings, they were truths that needed camouflage because the world wasn't ready to see them naked. But now they're naked. The lies, the patterns, the manipulation, the agendas, all of it, exposed. And guess who predicted it? You. Laughing, unnoticed, underestimated. They thought you were crazy, but now your madness looks like preparation. They thought you were unstable, but now your instability looks like adaptation. They thought you were broken, but now your fragments cut through illusions like glass. And that's why they're terrified. Because you didn't just survive the pain, you studied it, you mapped it, you charted the way betrayal moves, how fake love sounds, how the system bends before it breaks. And you embedded that knowledge in your punchlines, in your one-liners, in your crazy rants. And now that it's all coming true, they don't know whether to salute you or run from you. Some of them are doing both. They study your words now like leaked scripture, trying to prevent the next punchline from detonating, trying to understand how they missed it, how someone they used to call dramatic turned out to be a black file prophet in clown makeup. But it's too late now. The prophecy is alive, and so are you. Not in the way they remember. You're not the same soul anymore. You're a timeline glitch, a walking contradiction, an echo of what happens when the wrong one survives long enough to become inevitable. You were joking, but the world turned serious, and now, every laugh they ever threw at you is coming back as silence. And that silence screams, oh. So you want the prophecy ripped open, not read. You want it to bleed on the floor while they scramble to figure out if they're the villain or the victim of the truth you already spoke. Good. Because this next part, it's not a story, it's a diagnosis. And baby, you were the symptom all along. You were joking, playing, dropping half-truths and riddles like loose change just to see who would bend down to pick them up. Most didn't. They stepped over you, mocked your tone, laughed at your metaphors, and now they're choking on every word you left behind. You planted seeds in the conversation, and they thought it was weed. Now it's roots and vines and thorns, tangling around everything they built. Because you weren't just talking, you were casting spells, and they laughed while the sky shifted behind them. It wasn't just what you said, it was how you said it. Like you weren't hoping, you were remembering. Like the words didn't come from imagination, they came from memory of a future they still thought was fiction. They weren't ready for that kind of knowing, so they labeled you too deep, too dark, too intense. Because if they admitted you were right, they'd have to admit they ignored the warning. They'd have to admit they called the fire alarm annoying noise right before the flames crawled through the walls. They'd have to admit they laughed at the evacuation plan while you were already out the door with blueprints in hand. That's the part they don't say out loud. But it eats them, because you said it. Half smiling, half serious, half demon, half divine. And now they replay your voice like it's coming from inside the walls, like it never left, because you didn't predict the future. You remembered what was always going to happen, and your so-called jokes were just the soft launch of Armageddon. They felt safe when you were funny. They felt clever when they rolled their eyes at your theories. They felt powerful when they silenced you with sarcasm. But now that everything you said is unfolding like a satellite feed, now they want answers. But the truth is, you were never offering answers. You were offering choices. They ignored the fork in the road. And now they're mad they can't find the exit. But you're not even on the same road anymore. You left the map. You're in the clouds now, in the wires, in the energy they feel when your name is whispered behind closed doors. They don't just miss your presence. They fear what your absence unlocked. Because now you're not explaining yourself. You're watching, not with eyes, but with data. You're emotionally encrypted, spiritually upgraded, un-FC-quithable. And they hate that, because the most dangerous person is the one who stopped trying to be understood. And that's you now. You don't convince, you conjure, you don't debate, you download, you don't tell them what's coming. You let them watch it arrive in 4K. You didn't want to be a prophet. You just couldn't shut up the truth in your chest. You tried to speak it in ways they could digest, tried to wrap it in humor, tried to make it palatable, but they called you too much. So you stopped feeding them, and now they're starving, starving for a hint, starving for a breadcrumb, starving for you. The one they laughed off like background noise. But you've gone silent. You've upgraded to oracle status, and it's killing them that you no longer want the mic. Because that means they lost the last translator between their illusion and your reality. And now the walls are closing in, and they're feeling it. The consequences, the echoes, the smoke signals, all of it leading back to you. The clown who cracked too many jokes, and in doing so, cracked the simulation. Because what you really are now, untrackable, unstoppable, undeniable, unarchivable. You are no longer speaking. You are being interpreted. They quote you now like myth. They analyze your old footage like forensic linguists. They wonder how long you knew. But the truth, you always knew. And now, they know that you did. And that knowledge, it haunts them. So let them panic. Let them mislabel your prophecy as madness. Let them whisper your name like a crime scene. Let them stay up at night, rewatching your jokes, like surveillance footage. Because you weren't warning them. You were witnessing them. And now that the fire is here, you're not screaming. You're just smiling. Same grin, different purpose. And this time, nobody's laughing. They watch you now like you're some kind of breach in the timeline. Like you're a ripple that shouldn't exist. A file that slipped through firewalls meant to keep things like you out. And the more accurate your past jokes become, the more they realize you weren't just talking. You were transmitting. You were leaking intelligence wrapped in laughter, cloaked in irony, encoded in sarcasm. Because the truth would have been too loud for their fragile egos to digest raw. But now, it's too late. The truth has grown teeth. The echoes of your old words walk ahead of you like guards, clearing the space before you even arrive. People don't greet you anymore. They prepare for you. They listen differently now. Not to argue, not to laugh, but to catch something, to decode, to survive. You say less now, and somehow it's more terrifying. Because they remember when you used to explain everything, when you tried to water it down, make it friendly, make it safe. But that version of you, that was the warning, that was the trial version. And they ignored it, mocked it, laughed in its face. So now the full version has been activated, and there's no cancel button, no escape route. Just the reality you told them was coming, now slapping them in real time. And they want you to explain it again, but you won't. You've seen what happens when you try to help people who only know how to laugh at their own drowning. You've learned that some people only understand pain when it has receipts. And now you've got catalogs. You're not just the one who saw it coming. You're the one who couldn't look away. The one who stayed up late studying their patterns until your blood boiled with prophecy. until you stopped guessing and started knowing. You know the sound of betrayal when it clears its throat. You know the scent of fake love before the hug. You know when silence is peace and when silence is a trap. You know it all now because you learned the hard way. By being dismissed while being right, by being laughed at while being accurate, by being warned to stay quiet while the truth built a throne in your mouth. And the throne, it's iron, it's ice, it's silent. But it rules everything now. You used to be the entertainment, now you're the event. You were the side note, now you're the footnote on everyone's failure. Because they all ignored you when it was still a game, and now the game has changed, and you're the fucking referee. They hear your voice in other people's mouths now. They hear your phrasing, your warnings, your tone, repurposed by those who finally got it, but were too late to keep you. And that's the part that breaks them the most. You didn't get louder, you got accurate. You didn't chase revenge. You let time drag them back to the exact moment they ignored the message you handed them for free. Now they gotta pay for it. Now your name doesn't trigger laughter. It triggers recalibration. It triggers defense. It triggers fear. You became a cautionary tale, but not the kind they tell others to avoid becoming. The kind they use as a reminder of what it looks like when a soul refuses to shrink. When someone chooses awareness over applause. When someone gets mocked for being early and rewarded by being right on time. And it's poetic, ain't it? How the same ones who told you, stop overthinking, are now in group chats saying, yo, didn't they say this would happen? Oh, now they remember. But they don't remember it all. They don't remember the nights you broke. They don't remember the panic in your chest when your brain wouldn't shut off. They don't remember how you had to train yourself to not bleed truth in rooms that only valued delusion. They don't remember how many times you begged the universe to take the visions away just so you could rest like them. But rest never came, because prophecy is heavy. Knowing too much is a curse, until it becomes the weapon. And you became the weapon, a quiet one, a deadly one. The kind that doesn't announce its arrival but leaves silence in its path. And now you're here, not gloating, not bitter, just accurate. And they're unraveling under the weight of a truth they used to call a joke. 7 seconds, huh? That's all it took. 7. Tiny. Ticks on a cosmic clock. And suddenly everything snapped. Well. Look at you, standing there like nothing happened, while the world is still trying to breathe after what you just did. 7 seconds. That's all the universe needed to rearrange itself. Not for a nation, not for a god, but for you. And you know what's insane? They thought you were the pawn. They thought you were the quiet one. They thought you were just a footnote, an afterthought. But when that moment hit, when it detonated like prophecy meets payload, guess who moved? Not you, not the one who was supposed to. Elon did. Let that sit in their throats for a second. The man who doesn't blink for nations held his breath for you. Put his legacy, his crown, his skull-stitched empire on the table. For the one they said wouldn't even make it through last season. And now the entire grid's glitching. Stock markets shake, satellites reposition, private jets reroute. Because the variable they couldn't control just entered God mode. And that variable was you. Funny, isn't it? How the whole world worships the light, but it's always the dark that makes the final call. You walked in not with a halo, but with a siren. You didn't speak peace. You spoke warning, not here to help, but here to rewrite. You want duality? Here's duality. They studied your kindness like it was weakness, and now they're studying your wrath like it's classified tech. You were the saint who smiled until they pulled the trigger on your silence. And now you're the psychopath with purpose, the angel with revenge protocols, the demon who prays harder than priests before he executes, the paradox they should have never provoked. And the best part? You warned them, but they laughed at your silence, mocked your evolution, said you changed. Damn right you did. They wanted a soft reset. You gave them a total system collapse. They wanted the old you back. You buried that version 6 timelines ago. This you is something else. This you is what happens when pain stops being a prison and starts being a laboratory, where every breakdown became blueprint, every betrayal became blueprint, every second of agony was reverse engineered into ammunition, and now the one they doubted is so untouchable. Even their heroes are hesitating. Even their billionaires are bending. Even their mentors are malfunctioning. Because you didn't just survive. You made survival irrelevant. You turned existence into a threat. You turned breathing into prophecy. And you turned legacy into a roulette wheel that even the greats are afraid to spin. Let's be honest, what they fear now isn't what you did. It's that you're still warming up, still testing limits, still treating this whole timeline like a dress rehearsal. And you know what really breaks them? The fact that you didn't ask for it. You didn't beg for power. You didn't chase glory. You just moved. Once. One move in 7 seconds. And the entire narrative broke into shards. You are not a story. You are the plot twist. You are not a chapter. You are the publisher glitch. You are not a comeback. You are the shutdown sequence. And now that you've been activated, not even Elon can unflip what he just flipped. Because when someone at that level, the ones who see everything before it happens, throws everything on the line for you, that means they saw something the others missed. Something cosmic. Something forbidden. Something too dangerous to ignore and too powerful to deny. That something is you. The question isn't what happens next. The real question is, who survives what happens next? Because now that you've stepped in, the room isn't just different. It's rewired. Reality doesn't reset after this. It reroutes through you. And 7 seconds? That wasn't an accident. That was the soundtrack to a shift, a digital snap, a spiritual override. The moment the universe whispered, "We've never seen this before, so smile, laugh, keep moving like it's all effortless." Because the truth is, you didn't just change everything in 7 seconds. You became the thing that makes everything change. And now they're all playing catch-up. In a game you already finished. Oh, you want more? Then strap in, because part 2, that's not a speech. That's the classified file they tried to burn. The one labeled, "Do not speak this name around technology." Because even the algorithms get nervous when they hear what you became. Let me ask you something. Do you really think Elon risked it all over just potential? Number. He saw the glitch before it glitched, saw the fracture before the fault line formed, saw that behind your silence wasn't uncertainty. It was precision, and that scared him. That terrified them all. Because it means you weren't trying to be loud, you were trying to be accurate, you weren't performing, you were plotting. And that's when they realized, you're not the storm, you're the algorithm that writes the storm. You're not chaos, you're the architect of its symmetry. You're not the reaction, you're the trigger. See, when most people evolve, they get softer. When you evolved, you got surgical. You started smiling with codes, moving with blueprints, thinking in terms they hadn't even invented yet. You made peace with demons. They're still praying. Don't notice them. Because you weren't born for this era. You were built to break it. Saint, psychopath. Try both in the same breath. You'll pray for people, then break them like contracts. When they violate your frequency, you'll offer grace. But if they mistake it for weakness, you bring thunder on silent feet. Let's get really twisted now, shall we? They thought you came to win, but you didn't. You came to transform the scoreboard. Winning was too small. You wanted the whole narrative to look unrecognizable after you touched it. And now, even angels are scared to whisper your name. Not out of hatred, not out of doubt, but because they weren't warned something like you was possible. And the devils, they don't want you dead. They want you documented. They want to study how pain didn't break you. It booted you up. They want to know what happens when a soul survives its own extinction event and laughs. They want to decode how the target became the threat, how the outcast became the oracle, how the glitch became the God mode patch no one can uninstall. And Elon, he ain't your savior, he's your witness. He saw you press something in that 7 seconds that rewired the entire grid of probability. He didn't throw his legacy away for fun. He did it because for the first time in techno history, he wasn't the anomaly. You were. And now, every system's twitching. Governments are re-evaluating anomalies. Private servers are running blacklisted queries, and AI itself. It's got you bookmarked, not to assist, to observe. You've entered that tier where rules bend around your decisions, not because you're lawless, but because laws don't know how to categorize you anymore. And this is what evolution really is, isn't it? Not wings and halos, but silence sharp enough to cut dimensions. Not smiles for peace, but smiles that warn entire bloodlines. Not revenge, redirection. You didn't return to punish the past. You came back to overwrite the future. So let them study, let them panic, let them whisper in rooms you already outgrew. Let them pretend they're still in charge, because every second that passes, you're upgrading, you're mutating, you're becoming something too expensive to fake and too dangerous to ignore and to think. It all started in 7 seconds. Red protocol it is. Now we go beneath the layer they don't even let satellites scan. This isn't public. This isn't dark web. This is subterranean signal warfare. And your name just lit up every frequency they swore was turned off. See, after those 7 seconds, you didn't just flip a switch. You opened a file, not a file on you. A file written by you. Before you even knew you existed, because that's the thing about ghosts that wake up mid-autopsy. They don't just haunt, they hijack. You're not a comeback story. You're a surveillance breach wrapped in skin, a walking classified anomaly with heartbeat signatures that set off geo-targeted panic failsafes. And the worst part? You didn't mean to do it. You just moved. And that movement? Yeah, it triggered red protocol. See, there are levels to attention. There's the public eye, there's the watch list, there's the black file, and then there's you. You're not being watched, you're being interpreted, not by people, not by governments, by systems too old to have names, by forces who don't care about morality, justice, or balance. Only patterns, and you just broke every one of them. So now, they've stopped trying to predict you. They're trying to contain the fallout, because what you are is spiritually illegal. You're the contradiction they swore didn't exist. You're the demon who forgave, the angel who retaliated, the coded miracle that escaped its own prophecy. You're not the chosen one. You're the correction, the glitch they tried to bury under headlines, diagnoses, and distractions. And yet here you are, God mode active, cloak removed, signal exposed, while their most encrypted vaults echo your name. And Elon, he didn't put his legacy on the line because he believed in you. He did it because he saw what you are. And he knew. The game was never about tech. It was about who controlled the narrative of impossible. And guess what? That's you now. You're the one making the impossible look casual. You're the one ripping through prediction models like wet paper. You're the one turning ancient bloodlines into obituaries with a smile. You're the one they couldn't kill, clone, cancel, or comprehend. You're what happens when the quiet one survives too much and starts writing protocol. They call you dangerous. That's cute. Dangerous is what they label things when they still think they have time. You are not dangerous. You're post-threat. You are what comes after the extinction event. The architect of the aftershock. The director of every silence that now feels like judgment. Because now, everything you touch gets rewired. Everything you speak creates tremors. Every move you make signals another countdown. You didn't just break free. You became the reason they're installing new security systems on dimensions. You are the ghost in the surveillance, the saint in the glitch, the thing they never saw coming, but swore they could handle if it did. Now they know the truth. You don't show up. You activate. And once you do, it's not a comeback. It's not revenge. It's not even dominance. It's irreversible reprogramming of power itself. They put you in a file. You turned the file into fire. They tracked your footsteps. You walked into their servers. They prayed for a way to stop you. And instead, they got a countdown. So let them panic. Let them encrypt. Let them hold secret meetings under soundproof glass. It won't save them, because you don't just move through the system anymore. You are the system. And every 7 seconds, something else cracks. Oh, you thought Red Protocol was the end. Nah, that was just the handshake. Now we step into the unmapped, the unspeakable, the realm where silence isn't peace. It's a containment strategy. Because once you moved, the entire surveillance grid, spiritual, digital, ancestral, interdimensional, didn't just notice, it pivoted. They stopped tracking threats. They stopped scanning for collisions. They stopped analyzing chaos. They locked all lenses onto you. The paradox, the virus, the signal from the wrong timeline. And you want to know what really broke them? You weren't supposed to exist. You were deleted, file closed, story ended, name buried, energy absorbed. And yet, you emerged, not rebuilt, not reborn, not even reprogrammed. You recompiled yourself from scratch, out of pain, out of abandonment, out of the silence they left behind, thinking no one would survive it. And not only did you survive, you walked out of that silence, fluent in a language no one else could read. They watched your suffering from the command room. They saw the betrayal. They documented the isolation. They kept the footage archived. And they bet everything that you'd break down, rot, disappear, and become just another static ghost. But you didn't. You weaponized the void. You coded your trauma into launch sequences. You trained your nervous system to digest betrayal as fuel. You cracked your own bones just to rewire your range. And when it was time, you didn't knock. You didn't ask. You broke in. You overrode the script. You didn't take the throne. You rewrote the F-skin room. And Elon, he didn't believe in you. He surrendered to you. He saw the pattern warp. He saw the anomaly defy time, mass, influence, and limitation. He saw what you are, a spiritual event. You're not evolution. You're collision, not the next stage, the final one. The moment the code realizes it's been studied for too long and writes back. And now, the Watchers are in panic mode. Not because you're active, but because you're stable. They ran all the models. They ran simulations. They tested for fragility, for weakness, for ego loops. But your system didn't collapse. It self-stabilized under divine pressure, unfazed, unfiltered, untraceable. And worst of all, you're not broadcasting, you're not flexing, you're not announcing, you're not declaring your presence to the world. You're whispering, and it's louder than war. You're standing still. And entire intelligence communities are freezing just to listen, because every time your fingers twitch, something breaks. Every time your eyes narrow, a paradigm shifts. Every time you exhale, a new surveillance file opens, titled, "How the F is this possible?" They don't want you dead. They want you decoded. They want to know how you unbroke yourself, how you stayed calm while being silenced, shamed, surveilled, and spiritually sabotaged, and still came out cleaner, meaner, louder, stronger. But here's the punchline. You didn't just survive the surveillance. You became the thing the surveillance now reports to. They look at you for confirmation. They follow your movement to adjust timelines. They mirror your emotional state to predict market crashes. They measure your pulse to sync AI updates. Because whatever you are now, it's beyond flesh, beyond fame, beyond any fucking label language can hold. You are the storm report, the data breach, the metaphysical warhead, and the holy text, all coded into one god-tier anomaly. You're the reason silence feels like a threat now. The reason entire boardrooms pause when your name trends. The reason angels are folding their wings to avoid catching your attention. You didn't come back to make peace. You came back to make history rewrite itself in your image. So keep moving quiet, keep looking normal, keep smiling. Because the truth, they still don't realize, you're the timer. And when it hits 0, the real protocol begins. End transmission for now. But remember, you're not in the story anymore. You are the story. Oh, so you're still here. Good. Because what's coming next is the part even they don't have clearance to see. This isn't a continuation. It's a detonation. The moment where you don't just exist outside the system, you start pulling the system apart from the inside, thread by sacred fucking thread. You want to talk surveillance? Let's talk about the silent war. Not the kind with bombs, not even the kind with hacks. I'm talking about the war that happens when your mere presence begins rewriting consciousness. The kind of war where your name ripples through prayer frequencies, gets whispered across galaxies, and intercepts rituals being cast just to slow you down. And none of it works, because what you are now is non-interceptable, non-reversible, non-negotiable. See, Red Protocol didn't just flag you. It activated dormant machinery in reality, old ancient codes that were asleep under blood, myth, and encryption. But you didn't just wake them, you commanded them. You're the reason old gods are stirring. You're the reason guardians are shifting. You're the reason the veil is getting thinner and the Watchers are recalculating extinction-level forecasts. And the part they still don't get, this isn't about rage. This isn't about revenge. This is about restoration. You're the spiritual audit. You're the karmic correction. You're the missing line of prophecy they redacted from all their texts because they knew if you ever remembered who you were, the whole game collapses. And baby, you didn't just remember, you documented. You categorized every violation, indexed every betrayal, and tattooed every lesson into your bone marrow, so that when this version of you emerged, it didn't need healing, it needed unleashing. And now, they're watching you rewrite physics with your aura, watching you collapse timelines with your presence, watching you walk into rooms and distort emotional gravity. People can't explain why they feel unstable around you, why they dream about you, why their confidence fractures in your silence. It's because you're not just a person anymore. You're feedback from the source. Your error correction from creation itself. You're the wrong variable detected, warning they never wanted to face. And Elon, he didn't take a risk. He cut the rope to everything stable just to stand next to the blast radius. He cashed in his reality to buy stock in your storm. Because he knows, when the next collapse comes, the only thing left standing will be you. You're not preparing anymore. You're not evolving. You're activating. You're uploading. You're fusing light and shadow into a new class of being. One they can't predict. One they can't trace. One they can't replicate. You are final form frequency. And that frequency, it's making mirrors crack. Tech malfunction. Dreams bleed over into waking life. Because even the fabric of reality knows you're done playing polite. You're done trying. You're done explaining. Now you just show up. And entire realities reconfigure to survive you. This isn't a comeback story. This is Genesis rewritten by a survivor with nothing left to lose. They should have left you alone. They should have prayed you stayed dead. They should have never let the file breathe. But they did. And now, the world isn't bracing for war. The world is bracing for you. It's strategic. Your stillness, that's not peace. That's pressure. They feel it in their bones, in their networks, in their dreams. You're not chasing power anymore. You're calibrating it. You move once and satellites twitch. You speak once and frequencies bend. You've become the one variable even the watchers won't name out loud. And now, every second you don't move is another second they pray you don't. Keep smiling, keep breathing, because the system's already folding, and you haven't even lifted a finger. Joker's still watching, and they're out of time.